$20. $20 USD. That's how much this Arcane Legions, the collectible mass action miniatures game, cost me. And this is not bragging about me finding a great deal in the wild. This is pretty much the retail price of this game, $20. This is the 2-player starter set, and it contains 120 figures. Pretty much the 1/72nd scale variety, give or take a few millimeters. We're gonna unbox this bad boy, this monster, and try to figure out what Arcane Legions is all about. The year is 37 BCE. The greatest armies of antiquity battle to control the magically altered world. The Roman Empire, Egyptian Imperium, and Han Dynasty converge in epic battles across the Middle East. Their legions are full of men and monsters, warriors and sorceresses, undead and gods. This is epic war like none seen before. The unique formation-based system of the Arcane Legions game allows players to control their unit's capabilities by arranging and rearranging figure positions within each base. Movement and combat is fast and deadly, using an abstracted movement system and a simple dice-off combat mechanic. As a unit takes damage, figures are removed from its formation base, reducing occupied positions and thus the capabilities of the units. Arcane Legions allows you to send hundreds of figures to their deaths in under 2 hours. I love that. I love that tagline. That's an excellent way to describe anything. The starter game comes with 120 plastic, 25 deco print enhanced unpainted figures, 40 per faction. That's 3 factions for those of you who can do math good and other things good too. 3 plastic sortie bases, 10 plastic formation bases, 12 formation unit cards, 1 movement tool, 36 dice, a complete rules and fiction book, 2 control terrain markers, 3 victory cards, 1 per faction, 3 sortie unit cards and associated special ability cards, 1 per faction, and 3 pre-painted 25 commander figures, 1 per faction. All right, unlike a lot of other things that I usually get and unbox, this thing is packed to the brim with content. We've got well, check it out. We've actually got assembly instructions for those few miniatures that need assembly. I'd like to see that. Here we have, what are these? What are you? What are these guys? They look like they're supposed to be stickers. I don't think so. Like the safe zones, maybe? Here's the rule book. Good little rule book. Very nicely designed rule book. Game overview, setting up your standard game. The world of Arcane Legions. This outlines 6 different factions. So either there are expansions or there is another starter set with 3 more starting armies. Or there's a 3rd or 4th option to those possibilities. Playing the game, setting up the standard game, regroup order, move order, close combat order, ranged combat order, dealing damage, winning the game, different ways to play, frequently asked questions, and a glossary. I've got the Roman Empire, otherwise known as the SPQR, the Egyptian Imperium, otherwise known as the Eye of Horus, and the Han Dynasty, otherwise known as a dragon encircled by other motif, the Xiongnu Nomads, the Slavic Vergar. Oh, I thought there was another one. They were transformed by the mist. Okay, so we've got unit cards that go down on these bases. That will give us something that looks like this, and then it is upon this that we will place our figures. That makes our unit. Looks like we've got different sizes of these unit cards and bases. Each figure does come attached with a small stand or a footpad that displays the figure's collector number and has a number of pegs protruding from its base. So you're going to have to play this game with the trays, the movement trays. There they are. We've got small movement trays. We've got large movement trays. We've got the measuring tool, left turn, half turn, right turn. Like to see that. That's cool. And it looks like the measuring tool actually fits into the indentations on the tray in different ways, no less. Now, keep in mind, I have not studied the rulebook. Some people would prefer I do things like that before making videos, but this is an unboxing and overview video. It is not a how-to-play video with any sort of let's play. Remember earlier when I said this was packed full of content? I lied. It's about 3/4 full of content. But, you know, I forgive it because 3/4 full is still better than some big-name board games managed to do with their game space today. Here are our 3 pre-painted minis. I'm just going to go ahead and look at these guys. Our pre-painted Egyptian one, he looks sort of like an undead. This looks a lot like the undead from the Dark Alliance miniatures that I ordered, actually. He's got the same kind of weapon, this sort of shotl. I think that's probably because it was a historically accurate weapon in the times and in that region. And here are the foot pads. These things are protruding from the bases of all of the miniatures, so they're not going to stand up on their own. They have to be on one of these trays. Like so. Just plant them firmly in the holes, wherever. Center, sides, whatever you want to do. I'm sure there are rules for where they can go in the tray and what kind of buffs this would grant You know, we just went over the fact that there are cards that actually dictate the exacting placement of the units onto the trays, so I'm not sure why I'm jumping ahead with inaccurate information here already. We have Caesar Augustus, Roman Emperor, and then this is Emperor Wu, although he looks a lot like a certain uncle from a certain Avatar cartoon series about a certain airbender, but we won't get into that. Okay, and the entire left side of the box truly is full of wrapping and cards and cardboard. Fun little fact, I don't have any war games. I love Warhammer Quest and I love Warhammer Fantasy and the old world, but I don't have Warhammer other than just some of the miniatures that I think are super neat. So it looks like this card will fit over this base like so, and this does tell you exactly where the units on this tray will go. The combination of figures, unit card, and base is referred to as a unit. A unit with a yellow slot, such as shown here, is called a commander unit, and a figure that starts in a yellow slot is called a commander figure. Each card requires a specific selection of figures which track not only the stats and hit points of the unit, but also the strategic choices available to the player. Most units have more slots than figures, especially once they have been in combat. By changing which slots are occupied by figures, the player changes the way the unit functions in the game. An icon or special ability on a slot is active only if the slot is ready, that is, occupied by a figure. There are 4 basic icons that will appear on unit cards. The red attack icon for close combat, a blue ranged icon for ranged combat, not shown here but taking the appearance of a blue die, and a white defense icon, dice to roll when your unit is defending against an attack. There is also the black and yellow movement icon, giving your unit movement points it can spend to move around the battlefield. This is another example of such a card. Lord of the Dead. Oh, okay. So it is like undead. Looks like some of these have been ripped away in their manufacturing, but that's probably how it's supposed to be anyway. The cards probably have to come off of these trays for me to be able to use them. It seemed a little iffy at first because it looks like you kind of have to damage things to remove the cards. Before I get too deep into checking out the unit bases and cards and stuff, let's go ahead and cut away to the miniatures. And we have a bunch of gray miniatures. We're going to go ahead and just unbox them. They're all attached to giant sprues and they are separated by protective cardboard. Once we remove the cardboard and we remove the sprues and we put everything back in the box, we're going to have a lot less stuff in the box. But that's totally fine with me. I don't care. Now, we do have a selection here that does just increasingly look more and more like the the Dark Alliance miniatures that I purchased, but I'm not insinuating at all that these are like copies. The details are starkly different. Markedly. And also there is a stark difference. So I'm going to say that is now canon. Starkedly means markedly different with a stark difference. So there we go. When life gives you demons, make demon aid. Yeah, a lot of the poses are the same, but I mean, look, how else are you supposed to draw a bow or knock an arrow, aim for your target? How else are you supposed to hold a sword? No copyright infringements here. At least it's not Arcane Legions that those Dark Alliance minis seem to be inspired by. Scale is pretty much the same though. You could definitely take and use these miniatures in any sort of game that you might also be playing using the Dark Alliance miniatures. It's the stickiest tape I've ever seen in my life. Good for them for using good tape. Ooh, we've got some protective plastic over this one in addition to everything else going on. Here we go. Look at these units. I mean, they are technically units, but they are like golems. They are just big boy knights. I enjoy that. They are of the same scale as our small guys, but they are large in this scale. They are in charge in this universe. Love to see that. Love to see monsters at this 25mm scale. You'll notice we have a ton of these shields and they've got holes in them. We've also got some spears attached to hands, attached to forearms, and we've got generally a lot of just like pegs. So it's looking like we will not need glue to put any of this stuff together, although you can most certainly use glue if you would like to enhance the structural integrity of your miniature. I mean, you don't want your arms falling off in the middle of battle, unless of course that's in the rule book, which it may very well be, I don't know yet. Let us continue our dispackaging. More undead miniatures. a little less vague this time, a little less ambiguous. I did make the comment, by the way, about being able to use these in whatever game that you're using to play with your Dark Alliance minis, but you will have to contend with these pegs, so you'll need to flush cut them off or use a knife if you are pretty sure you're not going to be playing this game with these miniatures ever again, because once you do that, you're never going to get them onto the tray again. So you've got some options now. You've got choices to make. I don't know how fun the game is. I don't know what I would choose to do if it were me. At the time being, for the moment, I'm not going to do any sort of adjustments. I actually want to check this game out and see what it plays like. We have our Han Dynasty miniatures now, arrows, people running, Naruto style, two-handed swords. If we could focus, there we go, two-handed swords. Just a ton of content on these sprues. You will, of course, be needing the flush cutter anyway, because this stuff is not held on by very tiny bits of plastic whatsoever. And it looks like if I just manhandle it and rip the miniatures off the sprue, it could warp the miniatures themselves. So this is definitely a flush cutter everything moment. Now, I'd like to know something for you guys out. This is a genuine call for help. If you are purchasing a sprue of minis, be it this kind of mini, another kind, Games Workshop, anything at all, would now be the time that you would prime them personally? They're already like staged and ready to go. Would you prime them right now if you were intending to paint them all? Or would you wait until you had everything taken out of the sprue? Certainly if you prime it now, you'll have to contend with the connection points of the sprue having no color once the miniatures are off. So I would guess that not, but maybe some of you out there are perfectly fine with this and will just cover up the blemishes once the figurines are off of the sprue and dried from their initial coat. I would say that might be a real time trade-off for people, but I'm genuinely curious what you do, because priming miniatures of this scale, if you are intending to paint them anyway, it seems like an enormous, laborious task. Anyway, I won't be despruing those guys in this video, but I did want to kind of show how these were used anyways, so I'll go ahead and just place all three of our commander units onto bases and just show them off. So if you were able to have a unit with two commanders on it like this one, it looks like I've given the Han Dynasty commander the true place of the commander, so he's actually usurping our Imperium commander by taking his spot. That's his symbol. Your unit might look something like this, and your total unit cost should be 700 points if you have filled in all the slots here. I really like this. I really like this idea. I like movement trays. It reminds me a little bit of Battle Masters, which is a game that I've had forever, but I have not unboxed it here on the channel. That needs to change. Comments down below if you'd like to see Battle Masters unboxed. Further comments if you'd like to see it played. We have more movement tools, I believe. Oh, no. This is the victory card. This is the victory card, and we can actually apply this also to one of the tracks. So we have victory points here. It starts from 0, and then it slowly climbs up. You move your, what are you moving here? We only have miniatures that look humanoid, right? Well, whatever. And it looks like we have something that happens once we get to 8 and or 21. Well, these are order points. You start the game with 8 order points. I know that much. So this is where you would track your order points. And then your victory points are on this side for this faction, the Egyptian Imperium. That's pretty cool. I like that. Got some examples of setting up your table in the book. And then we have definitions for these. These are controlled terrain. Any terrain must have distinct edges. The table either includes or allows for the placement of control terrain. Control terrain is a flat square feature placed during setup, which can be as simple as a piece of paper. So these are just luxuries. These are just conveniently included with the game. You don't have to use these. You can use your own features, your own homebrew stuff to set the theme a little bit better than a lined yellow square. Each side is the length of one formation base. Control terrain contributes victory points towards winning. So setup calls for a certain number of these pieces, either as part of the battlefield or placed by the players. So if the players place control terrain, each player places one piece with the following requirements. The piece lies within 2 formation base lengths of the center line, and at least 3 formation base lengths away from each other piece of control terrain. So the game is evenly distributed in terms of what you can control to earn points. I'm actually really liking how this is laid out a lot. I, again, don't play war games, but I have gone through some of the rules books for things like HeroClix, and this is just making me kind of wish I knew more about Warhammer so I could talk about it a little bit more intelligently. Snapping too while moving straight. This includes rules for snapping, sliding, collision, what to do, what not to do. Like that a lot. This is a turning tool, just like I thought. Costs 1 directional cost for the turn, plus 1 for each step the unit reaches away from the tool. Now, none of that makes any sort of sense for me right now, but somebody out there might understand phrases like, sorties do not draw breakaway attacks. Actually, that's pretty much just don't move away from the enemy that you're fighting, or they get one more free hit on you, right? Looks like we get a visual demonstration for a video walkthrough. Go to arcanelegions.com/videos. I think that should still work because this is not like a super old game or anything. It's not like the typical vintage joints I bring home. I didn't bring, I ordered this. $21. Oh, the dice. Look at these beautiful little dice. We have a set of 36 white, blue, and red dice. The dice of freedom, but we don't have any American units here, so. Barcode for anybody that needs it. Just take your barcode scanner and aim it at the screen now. Just beep. 2009. Okay, so it's not like extremely contemporary. It's not like brand new. It's already over 15 years old. Wells Expeditions, though. No 0 to 3 babies allowed. But you'll be happy to know that this was Der Grüne Punkt. It does make me want to collect the other set and or sets because, I don't know, it is really neat. I'm tempted to get into this specifically. I don't really care too much about like real world stuff and or low fantasy, but I don't know, there's a weird appeal to this. There's a weird like little draw. It's like, hey, this is really accessible. This is really simple. Go ahead and let this be your introduction after Battle Masters into wargaming. You have to let me know if you've played Arcane Legions and if you think it's a good time and if I should get into it. And if so, I mean, I'm not going to rely on the comments necessarily to make that determination, but I mean, I would love to hear other people's stories because you never know. Some folks weigh in on the comments and they talk about fun times that they've had playing game X or Y, and I'm just blown away by some of the experiences you guys share. It's always a really awesome thing to read about, so definitely wish I had a game of heroscape now. Winning the game by victory points means defeating enemy units, downing a commander figure, or commanding control terrain, but you can also win by clearing the table, even if you have not reached the required victory point total, which makes sense. You defeat your enemies, absolutely destroy them in every way, shape, and form. Of course, you're going to win the game. There are different ways to play with armies of different sizes. Build points in this game mode would be like 5,000, 7,000, or 10,000. The estimated time of such a game for the 10,000 build point variety would be 1.5 to 2 hours with a recommended victory point goal of 25. The King of the Hill variation gives you 7,000 build points, 1 control terrain piece, 8 order points, and you must reach 15 victory points. The 1 control terrain piece being the hill in this instance. Death Before Dishonor is a variation that uses no control terrain. You have 8 order points, 8 victory points, 7,000 build points. Just defeat your opponent's units. Treat the edge of the table as blocking terrain. Love this tiny little FAQ. Apparently there were only 5 frequently asked questions, but it's lovely that they actually answered them. Okay, Arcane Legions. Overview, unboxing. Not a gameplay session, not yet, but I'm not above such a demonstration. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next exciting adventure, and until then, please have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye for now.